Go ahead, Jen, sorry.
I kind of agree with Trish. The 4 and 4 is like so easy to, you don't have to really think about anything. But I also tried doing the one we did at the end of last session, and involving the whole body, and that's pretty cool. But I find I have a hard time. I just have a hard time with it. It needs practice.
It does, and it's not something you have to do it for a really long time, but I wanted to kind of go a little bit in detail on just another aspect of the breath work. Is Linda, before I get started, is there anything that you want to add or talk about from?
Yeah, well, so what I did was like on the ball, I would like contract in and then sort of like with my hands at my heart, lean back on the ball and open. I think you kind of like talked about doing it on the ball, but did it there in your chair last week. So that just feels so good. Like it incorporates breath work and like opening your heart center and like spinal and rib cage stuff. So I decided I like that. And I had a training client this morning who's actually been in Antarctica for the last 3 weeks or so. And she just came back. So I was like, here, let's do this morning. And she was like, oh, that feels really good. So we didn't do as much breathing. I had her do her breath and go back and open. And she's been home for a couple of days now, but that sitting for the flight was like 20 something hours and all of that. So I just wanted to get her body and get oxygen into her body and make her feel good. And we decided we like that one. So that's the one I've been doing just the last few days.
I want to try that.
Have you tried the cycling through like different ones? Have you tried like
Yes. Yes, I have in the morning. I'll do first. I think this might even have just been the order that you suggested it, so I've just followed it, but I'll do like some heart-centered breathing. I actually have I've been noticing like either pressure in my chest or my heart. Anyway, so I was like, oh, what is that? And so I did some heart-centered breathing and put my hands here, and I've noticed that feeling has gone away. So anyway, so I've been sticking with that too. That's in the mornings, like before I get out of bed, I'll do some heart-centered breathing. And then I go into like maybe some box breathing. And then when I get up, I'll do some more of the contraction, like more with my body. But I do a little bit of that before I ever even leave the bed.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to do just a little bit of a recap and then add some information and interject at any time. I'm going to switch the view because I have a few things that I'm going to hold up, but let's see if I can see everybody. Okay, there you are. So last week we talked about the heart-brain coherence, and I had mentioned that as far as the energy output of your heart, it's 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain, and it's 100 times stronger electrically than the brain. And so when we are in heart-brain coherence, we are really putting out a pretty magnificent and magnetic electromagnetic field. And when people join together, you can really entrain other people. And that's one of the great things that the HeartMath Institute does. They have a lot of research on, going into war-torn areas and praying, and crime goes down and murder goes down and depression goes down and suicide goes down by people joining together. But today I want to talk just a little bit about how people's emotional state and electromagnetic state is very contagious. And Linda and I talked a little bit about, after the time last week about our energy centers. They start at the pelvic floor and then they go all the way up, and then there's, depending on what school of thought you listen to, there's all kinds of other I call them energy gates, that are in our energy field. But that's why I think, doing the Tumo breath is really, or fire in the belly, or that healing breath is really powerful, because it kind of helps you align those energy centers. Because what can happen is we can become entrained by other people's emotions and moods. And it has to do with mirror neurons. Has everybody heard of mirror neurons? These are these small neurons in the brain that cause us to mimic other people. Like, how when you begin to teach your young little one how to eat, we do like that, and then they do it. And when we make funny faces, our kids make funny faces. Or I've always been a person that, when I meet people, I'm always like, hi. And people who aren't even like, hi, will end up going, hi back, because we have this thing that we mimic, and it comes out of these mirror neurons. And the interesting thing is our mirror neurons are very close to our motor neurons. So have you ever been watching like something on TV and somebody gets knocked in the head and you end up doing that? You end up going like that. And you're not even consciously aware of doing that. And the reason that is because, like, for example, when we get our finger pricked, and they've done this study where they hook people up to, EKGs, ECGs, fMRIs, to see what goes on in the brain, and they'll prick people's finger and they'll see exactly where the brain lights up when they do that. And then they'll show someone else getting their finger pricked, and that same center will light up in the brain, and they will even have a hint of pain. And so in the last 10 years, they've really come a long way, actually 15 years, come a long way in figuring out, what happens with this mirror neurons and the mimicking. And they have a lot of data, and they found that emotions are highly contagious. And what happens is, especially when we are in our amygdala, which we've been talking about, our frontal cortex is our crowning achievement of human beings. And, most every other animal or being, functions out of their amygdala. And when we are in fight, flight, or freeze, we actually dumb down our frontal cortex, and we end up functioning out of our limbic brain, our amygdala, or it's also called our reptilian brain. So what happens when we are just going through our day and we're not aware, our subconscious mind is continually scanning the horizon and other people, and we can actually, in 22 milliseconds, we can look at someone, and subconsciously, by their facial expressions, by their tone of their voice and the stoop of their shoulders, we can pick up on how people are feeling. Like, you can be in a room and you can see someone that walks in, and they have RBF, which is resting bitch face, and you can just tell that, ooh, that person is not in a good mood. Or they have that saying, when mama's in a bad mood, everybody's in a bad mood. So when we are in our reptilian brain, in 22 milliseconds, we are looking at the people that are around us, and we are making a judgment of what kind of mood they're in. And then also, especially women, we're very, emotion aware. We do it with our conscious brain either. Like, we'll just size up the people that we're around, and we're like, or, oh yeah, I really like her, she seems like she's nice. Well, all of that comes out of this mirror neuron firing that happens in our brain. And it's part of, taking care of our young, and it's part of protection, and it's part of fight, flight, or freeze. And so what they found is emotional states can jump from person to person to person in an instant. And they did this study where they took 3 strangers and they brought them into a room, and whichever person had the greatest emotional expression would entrain the other 2 people, and the other 2 people would start picking up on their mood. And so this person who was, had the most volume behind their emotions would entrain other people. So, that's why they have that saying, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch, because when a rotten apple is in a barrel with other apples, it is emitting a gas that actually jumps on the other apples. And even though they're healthy, they'll begin to rot. And they've basically proven through research and data that that happens to us. And especially when we're not intentional and pulling our energy out of our amygdala or our reptilian brain and putting it down into our heart. And that one bad apple saying is really true as it relates to someone who is overtly in a negative mindset. So someone who is like really in a bad mood and is with other people, it literally jumps on people and trains them to go into their fight, flight, or freeze mode. Have you ever had that happen where you're just around someone and you're just like, you walk away and you're just like, oh my God, they surgically removed my spine by, and when they would do this study with these 3 strangers, it took only 2 minutes for them to be entrained into whoever was the most emotionally expressive. And that's where they get the saying like groupthink, and they have found like work and social groups and friends that we have, you actually have this group emotional identity that takes over. Have you ever had a group of friends where you're just like, I need different friends because we just, we get around each other and it's not good. We talk about bad things and I walk away and I just feel like I've gone to hell in a handbasket, because it literally jumps from one person to the next person in 2 minutes. Can you believe that? And so there is a saying that I found that I want to,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I could wait till you're done, but I wanted to add a couple of other things about that. So, because you're given such great examples. There is also, so it's in addition to like the countenance and the mirror neurons, there's a couple of studies that are done that show how the actual energy, we're all connected to. So there was, and this was like not long after Einstein, like they started to do these studies after the 1930s when he first really discovered the energy, but they took 2 people who had never met each other and just did like a brief introduction, like, hi, I'm Linda. I have a son in college and whatever, a couple of sentences. And then they separated them and they put one in a Faraday box. A Faraday box is like regular electricity can't go through, like you wouldn't have a cell phone signal. But universal energy does go through. So they would show one person some stressful pictures, and the other person, and they're not having no contact or anything, the other person who was not seeing the pictures, only just met, but would have the same stress responses, like pupils dilating or elevated heart rate in the same moment that the other person who was seeing the pictures, because they were already connected that quickly. At the same time, they experienced that. And then another study was, and this was a government study, because they're starting to really realize the power of this and the strength of the energy. They scraped some cells off the inside of somebody's cheek, put them in a petri dish, and then did the same thing with the person, showed them stressful things, and the cells in the petri dish had changes, biological changes, in the same exact moment as the person did. And they started to separate them. They would drive the cells further and further away. And it took up to 50 miles and 2 days after separating the cells, and they were still responding as if they were part of the person. So that's the
No
strength of the
way.
energy.
And
Yeah,
we
amazing,
truly are
right?
one. You know, we are all connected, like the aspen trees are all connected. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the book, The Secret Lives of Trees, but you know, the trees have these root systems where they communicate. And so they took these giraffes and brought them to this forest. And these giraffes were, you know, very ferociously eating the leaves on these trees. And the trees then on the outside sent a message to the trees in the forest and said the giraffes are coming to eat the leaves, and the trees in the center of the forest actually emitted a poison to where when the giraffes got to those trees, those leaves tasted bitter. And so, you know, which led them to do the studies that Linda was talking about, because our emotional states, they jump in under 2 minutes. And it's because we have these mirror neurons that cause us to mimic. And whether we know it or not, we're looking at the stoop of people's shoulders. We're noticing their breath pattern. We're looking at their facial expressions, and we can literally feel the emotions that people are emitting, and we pick up on that. Now, the good news is, you know, happiness is contagious also, and we can control our ability to be affected or not affected by these things by getting out of our hindbrain or our reptilian brain. And so when someone has an overly or overt negative mindset, it really does seep into other people if you fall into a state of being unaware. And I want to read this saying, and I can't remember the name of the guy who said it, but he said, like secondhand smoke, the leaker of emotional contagion or emotions can make bystanders an innocent casualty of someone else's toxic state. And so if we've all had it happen when we're just around someone who's toxic. Within 2 minutes, it can affect us. Think what it does, 2 weeks, 2 years, 20 years, 50 years. When you're just around someone who is toxic, it jumps on you, and it takes a lot to overcome that if you get in trained to fight, flight, or freeze. So literally 2 minutes of you being in a higher emotional state can have a great impact on someone else, especially if you're doing it from heart brain coherence. Because when we drop down into our heart, you know, our electromagnetic field is 5,000 times stronger than what someone is putting out of their brain. And so the great thing is happiness is as equally contagious or infectious as an overt negative mindset. Now, it is, science has proven and data has shown that, you know, that saying, fake it till you make it, which I never really liked, but they have shown that authentic positive attitude is the best. But you can fake it until you make it. It can be a powerful, powerful tool to change your state and to change other people's state without them even knowing it. And so, you know, just by the tone of your voice, because when we're calmer, we use a different cadence. You know, when somebody's upset and tight, they end up talking in the upper register up out of their nose, and they become animated and tense, and everybody can feel what that feels like. So if you want to entrain someone to happiness, you do what we've been doing, and you learn to regulate your breath. You learn to slow your heart rate down. They found that smiling tricks the brain into thinking that you're happy. And then you begin to produce those hormones, or what I like to call that cocktail of hormones, to where you are emitting the happiness energy instead of the resting bitch face energy. And it is, and especially when you drop down into your heart, it is so much more powerful, and it has so much more, or a greater degree of magnetism that you can overcome that. And that's why doing breath work is so valuable, because when we do heart brain coherence breath, like you guys have been talking about, or box breath, or the one that Linda teaches, if you put your hands on your heart and you drop down into your heart, and then you add a smile in with that, and you drop your shoulders, and you drop instead of your voice being up here in your head, you drop it down and speak from your heart, you actually send a signal to the body to release those hormones of happiness. And that's why I think breath work, learning how to do that on your own time. And when you get in a situation where you're having a family discussion and it's tense, you have the power, and you have the ability, and you have the experience to where you can throw love bombs on people. Have you ever been around someone where you've said, if looks could kill, I'd be dead? Well, if looks could kill, you can throw love bombs on people out of your heart, and it is much more powerful than any kind of dagger that someone would want to throw at you. That is, they're doing it out of their reptilian brain. Where one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. So when we join together in this group and we drop down into our hearts and we go into heart brain coherence, we're entraining one another, and we are creating a really powerful vibe of healing. Linda, do you want to add something?
No, it's just awesome. I love all this. I love all this stuff, and I love everything you're sharing. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I wanted to show you. So I had mentioned.
Trisha, did you want to say something? Sorry, did you want to say something, Trisha?
If I may,
Yeah, please.
when you talked about smiling, it just brought to my mind, I do practice Qigong as well, but they always tell us to put a smile on our face before we start. And we use the acronym START My Internal Love Engine for smile.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of cool. Put a smile on your face, start my internal love engine.
Oh, I love that, because love is so powerful. Love covers a multitude of transgressions. And, if someone is mad at me, let's just say I've ticked my husband off for whatever reason, just how it is when you're married, and we're trying to work it out, I will just drop down into my heart without saying anything to him. Because sometimes when you're a married couple and you say things, it only makes it worse. I'll just throw love bombs at him. I'll just pelt him as hard as I can with love bombs because, and I'll just say things to him like, I don't want to be at odds with you, like I want to work this out. And I'll use my energy coming from my heart of love for him to just pelt him as hard as I can with love bombs. And it really does work, but I wanted to show you this. I hope you can see it. So this is what, in a perfect world, it looks like if all of our energy centers are in alignment. They would be in a straight, nice line. But when we are 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 weeks, 2 years, 20 years around a very negative situation, our energy centers can get all cattywampus. And so what I had done is I had taken my heart center and I'd shoved it under my armpit. And so when I was doing this work, I could get the energy to release out of my pelvic floor, but then it would go under my armpit and I would just be like, it's stuck. It's stuck in my armpit. And it took a while for me to, consciously use my breath and my energy to let my body know that I was safe enough to where I could get that energy center back into my heart. And, if we can practice presence, staying in the present moment, and learning how to do that through breathing and add smiling, then we will be more aligned instead of like this, instead of having our, we are crowned with loving kindness and it's way over here. We can get it on top of our head instead of our, I also had my throat chakra. It was actually on my left side underneath my ear. And when I started to get healing with it, it was as if this toxic air was coming out of this pocket that I had shoved my heart center under. Because when I went to, the people who could help me and told them that I was being molested, they told me to shut up and quit causing trouble. So I just began to hate the sound of my own voice, and I had moved my throat chakra way over to the left side. And so that's why I think even though the healing breath where we do the contraction in our pelvic floor, I think that, there is a part of us that doesn't want to force that energy through our body because we stuff our trauma in our physiology. And when we do that breath, then it becomes like a magnifying glass of where we need to release that trauma out of our physiology. And I can attest to you, I can assure you that it doesn't take years. It can take months, it can take minutes, and it can take moments for that energy to be released. But there is, that part of us that has been traumatized and was told that we need to stuff it, that doesn't want to look down into our physiology and see where we're hiding those things because we're afraid that, I don't want to, it's been in there for 25 years. I don't want to release that because I don't want to have to go through 25 years of dealing with that. But that's not how it works. How it really works is, you're not going to stay in that. But if you continue to do that, the breath, and you continue to self-soothe, and you continue to use your mirror neurons and mimic what it is to be happy, those things begin to unglue from your physiology. And would you mind if I shared one story of something that happened to me about sickness? So I was born premature. I came out of the womb sick, and I was sick on and off my entire life with cancer and digestive problems and skin issues. And so I just was, getting up every morning and doing the breath work and getting on my ball and opening my heart. And I would say, less of me, God, and more of you. And I'm opening up my heart, and I would just, breathe day after day after day. And so I was doing this breath on the ball, and I came back up and I was just listening to see, where I could feel that energy and crackling in my ears. And I opened my eyes, and it's dark, and there is a version of myself that is standing right in front of me. And this version of myself had this beautiful choir robe on with a high neck, and it had jewels encrusted on it. And my arms were out, and I was standing there looking at me. So there was a version of me looking at me and me looking back at it. And when I was like, whoa. And so when I looked at that version of myself, every cell in my body was vibrating, and every hair follicle was standing on at attention. And I was like, whoa, and that version of me said, are you really going to unglue yourself from me? And I was like, well, yes, I am. And I said, I bless you and I bid you farewell, which is the first time I've ever said I bid you farewell in my entire life. I've never said I bid you farewell. So that version of me broke into 1,000 little pieces of sparkles, and it went out the wall and out the window. And I was like, whoa, like, okay, God, what was that? And the Lord showed me that that was the version of myself that had adhered itself to me, that associated with always needing to be healed and always being sick. And I unglued the sick version of myself, and I don't get healed anymore. I function out of health. So, I mean, that is such a little, like a little sly, like nuance, but it changed everything for me because I was always fighting against sickness and I was always fighting to get healed. And once I unglued that, it's like just the breath was just working on that and working on that and working on that. And, I didn't even know that that was there. That was just part of an aspect of, or a version of myself that I didn't even realize was running in the background. And it was just as simple as that for that to change in my physiology. Now, I've had some health things that I've had to deal with, but it has been such a different paradigm because I'm not fighting against sickness. I am attaining health, if that makes sense.
Oh my God, it's huge. What a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. I'm thinking of a lot of women in my world have health issues. And what I kind of heard in that is like, it's an identity that you have to say, that's no longer my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be scary if you've only ever known that. And that's how you think how it is for you. I think we really want to hang on to the identity, even though it's not a great one. But even understanding it's just an identity that I can unglue myself from is totally huge. And then health just becomes one thing in life instead of everything in life. Like it defines your day and it defines what you're going through. Instead of that, it's like, here I am, Linda, Nutzi, whoever, living my life. Oh, and sometimes there's a health thing. Okay, what do I need to do to get, what do I need to do to get myself back to health? It's a really, really different perspective of life. So it's so powerful. Thank you.
It really has changed everything for me. And what it has helped me do is it's helped me realize not to fight anything. Like, I don't think we should have a war on drugs and a war on teenage pregnancy and a, war on sickness.
Cancer.
The battle really isn't ours. I mean, that is a waste of energy because I think if we can self-soothe and we can self-regulate and we can fake it until we make it and we can mimic happiness, then the things that need to be dissolved will dissolve. But when we fight it, that means I'm hanging on to the rope and I'm yanking and it's yanking back and I'm yanking and it's yanking back. And it's a tug of war. And if we can let go of the rope and we can self-soothe and we can self-regulate, then we're like the cork that just floats to the surface. It's such an easier route. And it's amazing. Go ahead, Linda.
Well, there's two people, I don't know, I referenced both of these ladies, so some of you may have heard them. Have you ever heard of Byron Katie? Or Pema Chodron, right? Byron Katie has a book, Loving What's So, I think it's called, Loving What's So or Loving What Is. And Pema Chodron talks about accepting, and it's exactly what Nutsi's saying. The second is when we're resisting something, fighting against it, that's what gives it the life. As soon as we stop resisting and just accept it, like I had a client who was like, this, it shouldn't be that I'm sick. This isn't okay. And I was like, as long as you feel that way, you're going to stay sick. It's like when you can accept this is what's so, and my intention isn't to stay here, but I need to accept it first. It's what Nutsi's saying, and it is the thing that then sets you free to actually get something other than that.
Yeah, because, we can't solve, like Einstein said, we can't solve a problem with the same brain that created it. And so these healing episodes that I have had were all things that I accepted, stories that I have accepted that came out of a little bitty person who I wasn't in a situation where I was being protected or helped. So I internalized that and blamed myself and came up with this version of myself, that was always playing tug of war with what I wanted. And that's what's been so great about the breath work is I haven't had to fight anything. And it gets you in contact with supercognition. I call it God. You can call it source, the universe, love, Abba Father, whatever you want to call it. It gets you in connection with that to where you can get the information that changes your perspective and changes who you are in an instant. Like for me to say, I bid you farewell, I'm like, who says that? That's not even, I don't say that. It's like, that's not even like what? I don't never said it. That's like saying hence and theretofore. I don't use those words either. So I think, when we do this breath work and we learn how to use our mirror neurons for good and to mimic good, then it's such an easier road. Right?
How many years ago did that
So
occur to you?
Okay, so I started meditating January of 2019. Then in September of 2019, I started to do breath work. And it was probably 2020. It was probably August of 2020 is when it happened.
Wow.
And I'll just be honest, because of all the breath work that I do, I produce a tremendous amount of DMT, and I have these experiences that show me like things in my personality that don't serve me, and narratives and constructs and stories that I have told myself that are absolutely not true and ridiculous. Because 54% of our memories are not correct. We embellish. And, they've done so many studies on people when, they have them watch a crime, not a real crime, but a crime. And then they have them retell the story. Most of it's all incorrect. The color of the shirt was wrong. The person was wrong, so the things that we tell ourselves, that happened to us when we were younger, most of the time are embellished and not true and exaggerated. And so, doing all this breath work and producing all this DMT has been a wild, unbelievable, exciting, supernatural journey for me, because I was a truly crippled, anxious, hurt, antagonistic, kind of bitchy person. If you made me mad, I was going to swat at you really hard. I would bite and draw blood. And it's because I was just in fight, flight, or freeze. Like, you're not going to, and so, doing this breath work has really given me what I feel like is my God-given personality that I don't think I ever had, and so I don't even do really meditations anymore. I do the breath work, and then I go out and I walk as my future self. I practice the breathing of my future self, and I tell my body about my future self. So I do, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes of breath work. And then I go out and I am talking to myself. I do it early in the morning because people think I'm crazy. I just am like, I say, my feet are ordered of the Lord, and every step that I take, I have favor with all those that I come in contact with. And, then I go up to my next gate or my next energy center, and I am rooted and grounded in love. And I thank you, Mother Nature, for firmly affixing my feet to your surface and nourishing me. And I have bowels of compassion that flow freely. And I have, an unction of the Holy Spirit. I don't need to be taught. I'm led and guided and divinely inspired, and I have angels. And then I'll be like, I have God as my real reward, and there are angels going before me, and God maintains my lot, and everyone I come in contact with thinks I'm the bee's knees. I'm super cool and I am loved of the Lord. And then I'll be like, my heart has so much peace. And I like the sound of my voice. And I'm just walking, I'm just 4:30 in the morning and I'm having a hootenanny with my soul. I'm just telling my soul what it believes. And, by the time I'm done, I'm like, I'm feeling freaking awesome. I'm awesome. I got neurons that are off the chart.
You definitely live in Oklahoma.
I know.
Nanny, I love that because it's so great. You're a walking meditation, walking to your future self. When we're in survival, that's all past driven. That's all focused on the past. It's everything you're thinking is about the past. This is what happened before. No, I can't do that. It's worry. It's past driven. When we stop and we focus on what we want, even if we don't know how to get there, that's what Nutsi's doing. She's walking to what she wants. She's creating it as she walks with no focus on the past. And that's hugely, hugely powerful.
And
I'm loving tonight.
I am alone a lot during the day because I'm a rep, I'm a consultant in the dental industry. So like today I drove for 2 hours before I got to my first appointment, and I just practice the emotions of my future. Like, a happy person doesn't drive like this. I sit up like a happy person. And I throw my shoulders back and I lift up like I've got a crown on my head, and I drive and, I open and I practice expanding my awareness. And when I'm alone in my car, I know if people pass me, they think I'm a crazy person because I'm just having a good old conversation with myself. And I'm talking to myself about what we're doing and where we're going and what we're accomplishing.
That's awesome.
And so I just want to show you this one more time. So this is something that you can do if you know someone who has a bio well, and you stick your finger in it and then it shows you where your energy centers are. But as you do the breath work and as you practice self-regulation and self-soothing, you will begin to become acutely aware of where your energy is leaking. In that study, in the SMILE study, they found that, overtly negative mindsets leak out on other people. And so as you become aware of what's happening in your internal state and you start regulating and you start, being the captain of your own ship, you won't need to do something like this. It will become apparent to you where you need to pull things back in alignment. And it's a question of, and I'm just going to use Christian terminology and I'll try to water it down to make it, so it's not offensive to anybody, but, it says that only God can separate the spirit and the soul. And so what happens when we are functioning out of our soul, which is our mind and our emotions and our will, our mind, our hindbrain, our emotions, whether that's negative or good or positive, and our will, that can actually cause our heart or our spirit, is what I would say, to not be able to put that magnetic energy out there. And so what I practice doing is I practice functioning out of my spirit, or another way to say that, I practice functioning out of the magnetism that comes from my heart, because it is greater than the energy that comes from my mind. So, Linda, do you want to add anything?
No, we could sit here all night. It's so amazing. It's such great info. And I hope, I think that when people first hear breath work it's like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to regulate in and out or whatever. And it's so much more depth to it, so much more power. And it's really the practice, this just came to me, the practice of breath work translates into your life, kind of like practicing martial arts. People who are trained in martial arts have a way of living, right? They have a philosophy that they've learned in order to move up in their belts. Not that I know anything about martial arts, but I think that's true. And practicing breath work and all the different kinds trains you for living in a particular way, and living in a way where you're causing your life, you're not at the effect of your life, and where you're releasing whatever happened, whether it was being molested or it's, whatever it was, being abused in many different ways. And I believe they all show up in our physical health in one way, shape, or form. So any physical health issue has something like that as a root cause. Not that everybody was abused, but it's something like where they've disconnected from themselves, what Mitzi was saying. So that's all. That's
Pretty much
just what I've been
everybody
thinking
has been
about.
abused. Everybody has been abused on one level or another. You can't walk on this earth without having, things that have been hurtful and harsh and negative and, make us feel fearful and, cause us to contract. And when we live in a contracted state, that causes our shoulders to stoop, our chin to come down, us to look down, us to breathe shallow. And that perpetuates, that is firing those mirror neurons to be a person who is overtly negative in their mindset. And so I just think breath work is such a powerful tool to give you the, ability to steer your own ship. So I do want to talk about a breath that you can do that, number one, it really lowers the level of stress in your body, but it also will produce some DMT, or it will produce some energy to where so what happens is it causes you, like the Wim Hof breath, it causes you to feel like you need to take a breath in. And what that does then is that signals nitric oxide release and signals DMT, which causes you to release hormones where you feel happy. But breathing in shorter and out longer sends a signal to the body that you're safe. So I really like it. I call it the 4-8 breath. And what we'll do, we'll just practice it for a little bit and then we'll let you go. But you'll do 4 in, and then you'll do 8 out, and then we'll pause for a couple seconds. And that's what's going to signal the body, and you're going to have a little buildup of carbon dioxide, but that's going to signal a nitric oxide release. So not only are you going to lower the volume to stress and anxiety, you're going to signal nitric oxide, and then you're also going to produce some hormones and chemicals that are going to make you feel really happy.
Question?
Yeah.
And I might have missed this. And is it DMT? What does that stand for?
So, when people go to like they take LSD, or they go to do an ayahuasca ceremony, a plant ceremony, they lick a toad. That's one way that you could do it, or they smoke stuff, or so DMT is a chemical that causes people to have hallucinations.
Oh,
But we have all of the cocktails we need to get high, to feel happy, to feel sad. We produce all of that. Like, we have 30 some receptors in our brain for cannabis, but if you do enough breath work, you can produce all of that in your own brain. You don't need to take drugs. You don't need to drink alcohol. You don't need to take LSD. I mean, people do what they want to do. I'm not against anybody who wants to do an ayahuasca ceremony, but I don't need to do that because I am producing all of these chemicals in and of myself. and attaining to higher vibrations to where any kind of a transcendental experience I want to have, I can produce that in my own physiology.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Okay, so let's just practice it. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this music or not. We'll try it just for a few minutes.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Was that, sorry, I guess I pressed Siri. Be quiet.
It's all good.
My Siri guy is a British. Can you hear that? Okay. All right. So let's put our hands on, well, let's do this. Let's warm up just a little bit. Rub beside your ears. Like you're trying to get it warm. Just take your fingers and rub right below the ears. Go one way. And then go the other way. And then just take that lymphatic fluid and bring it down your neck and kind of lift up your shoulders. Let's just put our hands up over our head, fingers like this, look back, take a nice big breath in the nose and out the mouth. Put your hands out to the side and you're gonna press your sternum up to the sky. You're just gonna think about opening your heart. Okay, so let's put our hands on our heart center and let's drop our shoulders, relax our shoulders, and relax our eyelids. Relax your forehead. And let's drop down into our heart and let's just start breathing in and out of our nose. Just tell your body it's safe and we can relax. And all is well with your soul. Think about your toenails and your ankle bones and your knees. Bring some good energy to your pelvic floor and your bowels of compassion that flow freely. Just relax your colon and your belly button. And just think about your lungs, about how well they serve you. Just pull some air in and out of your lungs and tell your lungs to relax. And think about your heart and just give a little thanks to your heart that it's always beating whether you're awake or asleep or anxious or peaceful. Drop down into your heart. Think about your voice box. Bring some relaxation to your voice box. Think about your tongue, how much delight it gives you when we get to eat food and commune with other people and talk and sing. Relax your ears, your nose, Think about the top of your head. Relax the top of your head. Okay, so we're gonna go in for 4 in our nose, out for 8 out of our mouth, which is gonna send a signal to relax. And then we're gonna pause for 2, and then inhale for 4, out for 8, pause for 2. And I'll do the counting. All right, here we go. Inhale in the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, and really slowly exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and pause. 1, 2, inhale really slowly for 4. In the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's pause. 1, 2, inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale out of your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's pause for 3 this time. 1, 2, 3. Inhale in the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Pause for 3. And in the nose for 4. Out of the mouth for 8. Pause for 4. Last one. In the nose for 4. Out of the mouth for 8. Pause for 4. Okay, just let go of control of your breath, and let's just focus on our heart. Let's join together. Let's catch happiness from one another. Let's just throw love bombs on each other. Let's be grateful for our time together. Relax your shoulders. Relax your eyelids. Now I just want you to receive love. Open up your heart. And just let the love flow in the top of your head, down into your heart. Let it flow over you like waves. Okay, excellent. Excellent. So next week's our last week. Is there anything in particular that you guys would like me to cover or go back over and spend some more time on, or just want me to see what I get? Like I got this whole thing today when I was driving. I was like, God, I don't have anything. Can you help me here? And so I got it on my way to Arkansas this morning.
Well, God really showed up for you because it was a great class. I appreciate all of the info. Thank you. I mean, I'll let these guys say whatever they want to say, but I would love to really leave people with, like an order. So if you had a morning routine, you could do this, then this, then this, then this, or you could do each one just by itself. something that they can easily go and create a practice from now that they know a few different things. I think that would be great.
You
So,
think 10 minutes would be, if I was going to come up with something, would like a 10-minute thing be good for everybody? Or how long would you want me to make it? Because we can just do I can take you through what I would recommend that you start out with, and then you'll just have it as a recording.
That'd be great.
yeah, I think that's right, because then people can, I don't know how you would suggest expanding that, but my thought is, so let's say if it's 10 minutes and it's made up of 4 different types of breath, you can expand each one to make it 20 minutes as you grow your practice or something, or cycle through more than once, or whatever it is that you recommend. But I think that's a good way to give them something, distinct to take away and to just keep doing.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Mhm. Let's see,
I
I have a
also would-
question on the, oh, I'm sorry.
Go
That's
ahead.
okay. I was just also gonna say I would love your playlist. The music is sometimes choppy, but I can tell it's great music. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is. So if you want to share any of your favorites, because you clearly have them, because you have them all queued up, ready to go. So your music is that song I really liked. I don't know about you guys, but that was really a great song. It went well with that breath work.
I will send it to you. It's a spot. I'm on Spotify and I have a bunch of playlists on Spotify. You can follow me, but I'll send you this one. It's inspiring classical. And what I do first in the morning is I turn on a red light. I bought a red light. I have a ghetto, what I call a ghetto red light sauna. And those garage lights that have the clamp, or they put them
Yeah.
on little chicken. Okay, so I bought this bulb, this red light bulb, and I put it in my garage light ghetto infrared sauna, and I put this music on in the morning, and I start with that for 4 or 5 minutes, just doing heart brain coherence and bringing up a grateful heart. And so
What's the
I'll
red light
send
do?
you- So they found that the red light, the infrared light, it actually helps collagen, it helps the skin heal, it helps anti-aging, it's a mood booster, it's healing. And
Really?
so yeah, I can send you the one that I bought off Amazon. It's like $29, and these garage lights are just, I don't know, like less than $14. And so I just sit down on the floor, I put this music on, I turn the red light on, I breathe
Cool.
in and out of my heart, and I'm just thanking the Lord, just having a little moment.
I love you. Great.
I have an infrared sleeping bag that I lay in, and I often meditate while I'm in the infrared sleeping bag, but you don't see the light. But I also have red light bulbs. They're called tungsten bulbs, and they're on a wooden panel. And sometimes I sit one here while I'm on my computer, and I shine it on my thyroid, and I shine it on my face. Or I also have a panel that has 4 of them. So that's more, and they get hot. That's like being in a sauna, if you can, not have it be in a big open room.
I got
there
the
we go.
Oklahoma infrared cowgirl janky sauna.
Hey, I have a question on the 4-8 breath.
Yeah.
So when I first started out, you did the 4 in and then the 6 out. Is the out always out through your mouth?
Yes.
Okay. And then when you pause,
Mhm.
are you basically holding your breath during the pause?
You shouldn't have, after the 8 seconds or 6 seconds, you shouldn't have any air in there. So
Right.
you're gonna kind of feel clamory, like, I need to take a breath. That's what you want. If that's what
Okay.
you feel, that's what you want.
Okay.
Like I can do 4, 8, and 8, but just start with 4, 8, and 2, 4, 8, and 4, because when you cause the body to need to take a breath, that's what signals the nitric oxide, and that's what's going to give you the chemicals of health and healing and energy and relaxation. And so you kind of want that needing to breathe type feeling.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation.
Mhm.
It just dawned on me, because I've watched a lot of Law and Order crime shows. Not that I know this personally, But you know, when they find a body that like for sex, they like tie them up and they're like hanging and it's supposed to really enhance the orgasm. You know what I'm talking about, right? They, like the person, there's like a getup that they do and usually the partner, but sometimes people even try it by themselves where they're sort of like choked and they can't get their air. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Is this
yeah.
being recorded? Erase it. No.
Oh, yeah.
No, you know what you know what I'm talking about? And then you don't, let's see. Oh, I've seen it a lot on shows. I'm sure it's called something, but it's some sort of like asphyxiation that if you time it right in the moment, so it's what you're saying, like the good feeling and the euphoria and the happiness, excuse me, it makes supposedly an orgasm be 100 times better or something, but it's the same thing. It releases the chemicals. Now I have the hiccups talking about it. Anyway, I don't think it's wrong, but that's what it is. When you feel like you need that breath, and then it changes the brain chemistry. I'm gonna stop now.
That made my night. You know, when they tie it around their neck and
Look it up. Hold on, I'm gonna look up sex asphyxiation. Hold on.
No, you speak the truth, Linda.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely. You speak the truth.
I'm not even gonna tell my husband about that.
Yeah, probably should
I
have.
mean, I've seen plenty of Law and Orders where that's the crime that happens.
Yeah.
So I'll share it in the email with the recording, maybe not. But anyway, so we'll get this recording to you guys in the next couple of days or so. And then next week is our last week. And
Yeah.
I'll say it again next week. Mitzi, I just can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise, your life stories, you know, what you've come to know and so much information. It's just been really, really a gift. Thank you.
Thank you for
My
giving me
sentiment as well.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you for
thanks so
sharing.
very much.
Yeah, such a blessing. May you be blessed many times over for sharing all your knowledge with us.
Thank you so much. I received
As we
that.
bid you farewell.
Linda? Linda,
Yes.
it's erotic asphyxiation.
Oh, erotic asphyxiation. I'm typing in, it didn't, thanks, Jen.
You're
Yeah, it
welcome.
didn't come up. I'm like choking when you, I don't know, it's something. It's erotic asphyxiation. Yes, and it creates like this euphoria that people are willing to die for, apparently.
Yes,
It's pretty risky.
it is very risky.
Well, this breath is not
Okay.
risky. It's not risky.
No, not at all.
But the quiet one knew what it was
All
called.
right, guys.
Too much TV, I guess, right?
Right.
It's totally on crime shows, like all the time.
It is.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a good night and we'll see you next week.
That's good.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
Thanks.
Right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.